What is up, you guys? This is Coach Matt here. Thank you guys for tuning in every week. This week we have a very special guest. His name is Miles Partain. But before we jump into that, I want to drop in some very fun dates coming up. We have some Better Beach camps coming up. November 30th through December 6th, we are going to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. If you guys are not signed up for that, I highly recommend checking that out ASAP. It's getting close to the last second to be able to sign up for that. And then starting out the new year, we're going to be heading to Loveland, Ohio, January 24th through the 26th. And then we're heading to Washington after that one. That one's almost sold out. I highly recommend if you're thinking about signing up for that one, do it ASAP because I don't think there's very many spots left. And that's the same with a lot of our mini camps. They sell really fast. So just make sure if you're debating it, definitely reach out ASAP to get you registered for that. Tacoma, Washington, January 31st through February 2nd. March 7th through the 9th, we're heading to Ozark, Missouri. And then June 20th through the 22nd, Virginia Beach. June 27th through the 29th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So guys, if you guys don't know where these dates are, they're on our website at betterbeach.com-events. So check that out. Try to keep an eye on that daily. We're adding new events to that every single day.
Just to kind of open it up, Miles, just give a little intro of who you are. Obviously, I'm pretty sure all of us know who you are, but just in case there isn't anyone, just go ahead and give a rundown of who you are and your accolades and everything like that. So, yeah, what's yours?
I grew up in Los Angeles, and I've been playing volleyball since I was 11. Played the normal club, male club indoor volleyball route in SoCal. Went through that, then went to UCLA for volleyball indoor and studied math there. And then, I guess we got like 9th or something, and then 5th, and then 3rd in the national championship. And then I left the team my junior year, but they won that year. But I left early to go to the Olympics for beach volleyball, or to try to go to the Olympics, and then ended up qualifying in 2024 in like May or something is when we found out. And then, like 3 months out from the Olympics, and then playing the AVP stuff too. So, and then this volley knowledge stuff, trying to basically do some volleyball teaching, but hopefully through stories. I like world building, kind of like a Lord of the Rings volleyball world, kind of. I think that'd be fun to teach the game inside of. So, yes. Trying to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Heck yeah, man.
So
that brings up a few questions for me. Going into that decision to drop UCLA and just pursue the Olympics full time, how can you dive into that a bit more and just kind of share a little bit how, some things that you might have been wrestling with that decision, and how you came to the decision to just chase after the Olympics full time?
Let's see. I guess my brother had gotten a great job, so he was expected to come back. He ended up just taking the job. So that was like one setter down, and then it was left me and 2 more on the team. So it was a hard decision because we had 3 setters is a good amount. And it would have been, I probably wouldn't have done it if there was only, well, for sure if I was the only setter, but they had 2 other good setters, so that helped a lot. And they were good. They're really good. So I knew I wasn't leaving the team, like all my friends and stuff, like totally alone. So that helped a lot. And then just, I don't know, cost benefit analysis sort of playing. Like I had to start to qualify. Like it would have been a huge blunder to wait and finish out the season. So yeah, I decided to do that. It was a tough decision, but I'm glad they won. So they had no like what if type of things. It was really a simple decision. Mostly it's just like, do I play the Olympics or finish the season and then get a late start to doing it? And actually that early start was pivotal in our process. So, I think it was good. So that's it. Yeah.
Nice. Anastasia asked, so you were a setter at UCLA?
Yeah.
Nice. Did you option a lot in indoor too, or did you guys run a 6-2?
I tried to. I actually got, and I wouldn't consider myself like this just flowy, like natural setter. It was always a very grind for me. But my open hand tip, like dump on 2 was like, in my opinion, one of the best in the world. I was like super good. I got really good at it, like really good at it. So I like doing that. If I had ever played pro, like I would have been a big asset for me. But I don't know, maybe I still kind of, now with this volley knowledge stuff, I'm hoping to teach potentially like the entire game. So it'd be cool to play pro somewhere potentially. Maybe after the next Olympics, if I can do that for beach, that'd be like really, really cool. If I could just play pro in Switzerland or India or something for like 3 months, setter, not really hurt my shoulder too bad. So
just go setter dump every ball. I mean, that's a good life.
I mean, yeah, you need a tight set. Being good at dumping isn't that valuable. I mean, it's location and decision making is like 95% of it, and then highlight plays for dumps, but still fun.
Nice. That's awesome. Jay wants to speak up to ask his question. He's driving right now, so Jay, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Great, Miles. Man, listen, my question, and I wish I could have typed it, but it'd been 4 pages long. The positions you get yourself into to actually utilize your hands is absolutely amazing, right? I mean, you torch your body, or you're on a full sprint and then back set. What is the key to building and developing to that level of hand setting? Because I mean, 90% of the people, if they're not in kind of typical standard set form, it gets just annihilated.
Right.
And
yeah, it's a great
what
question.
you do is incredible. We talk about you all the time, so it's an honor to be on here with you.
Oh yeah, this is great. I already subscribed to Better at Beach, so like I could have just joined this as like I don't know.
I was about to say,
part of a program, but like I could have just joined like as one. But yeah, I mean, with the setting, definitely like the contortion or like body manipulation, so you can get your sort of center line and energy like centered on the ball, so you don't double or whatever. Like that's super important. So there's a ton of footwork drills you can do. The wall volleyball Instagram, like at wall volleyball, I love that Instagram. Like I did a ton of wall drills growing up, so and still do. Like yesterday, I was doing wall drills for like not even really. I wouldn't call it a drill. It's just fun, but it's like 30 minutes of that yesterday, just procrastinating my workout. But like still getting better too. So I really like the wall drills. I think that helps a lot. You can throw it against the wall and put yourself in all those situations where you think it's difficult to double or like, get messed up or lose your sense of place. So I think that's super important. All those wall drills, you can just derive all of the answers yourself from that. But I mean, definitely just playing would help. I think especially the wall drill where you have to go around the world. I bet you could type it in on YouTube, like around the world wall setting volleyball, and it would show up the drill. But you just set the ball against the wall and you try and like do that basically. And it's pretty hard, especially in the from like this zone to here, and then it's kind of easy for the front part. But like if you really don't skip the hard part, like that helps a lot with the contortion. And then seeing if you can toss the ball against the wall and like you're not allowed to move your feet, and you have to figure out a way to like side bend and arch your back or lean forward and kind of get it on your nose so it doesn't look like a lift. So it's just like a perception thing. Like you could set it anywhere, it just can't look like a lift or a double. The actuality of it is irrelevant. So yeah, that's another thing. So like purposely putting yourself in those chaos situations too. Like if you're doing the triangle drill or just like setting with your friend and pepper, like have it land 2 feet to the right of you, and then like see if you can stand here and then like set it like that. And it's not, as long as you get your head in the same relative position to the ball in your hands, it's just a normal set. So you still like import the skill into a new analogy. And then like that's huge for jump setting because the ball moves like a few inches either way. I mean, even with normal setting with the wind, it does that. So you already do it. but just embracing it and seeing the limits. I think like finding the opposites of anything philosophically, like volleyball too. If you can find the opposites of something, the limits within which you can exist. So like for setting, like find the limits of where you could possibly set it without it being impossible. And then like just keep trying to expand those limits. That would be my answer for that. That would be like go-to for learning a jump set, and then just set in general. So the wall drills are way better bang for your buck than playing twos.
Wow.
Or really anything else for a lot of things. Yeah.
That's great. That made me think of another question. When it comes to, obviously you were a trailblazer in a lot of ways in your game. And it's very impressive to watch, and it's so fun to watch, and it's so good for the sport. And as you were thinking through jump setting, and I'm sure there's probably a podcast out here where you answer this question, but if you were trying to narrow down jump setting into maybe 3 to 5 key components to it, what could you put in those 3 to 5 key components?
It's definitely possible with like some prerequisite knowledge to like helpfully boil it down to that. I think the approach angles or curve, like the shape your steps trace out when you begin your approach and end it, like that is really important. And it depends on if you're like wrist away or cut back dominant, and Andy and I's opinion. So figuring out that approach angle that's beneficial to your hitting mechanics that are already there is huge. And then taking that approach angle to the option is important. So like step 1, I guess, is like figure out your approach angle or curve, and then like figure that out. That's like step 1. So there's sort of multiple places you could start from as your partner is passing the ball. So finding the best one that maximizes your chance of like successfully striking it, and an option would be good. So like you could just kind of, if you're passing, you can just open up. Like some people do that. Some people will kick out a little bit farther away from their partner, or they could kick into the court like what I do. So there's multiple ways to do it. Andy's a little more just opening up. I like kick into the court a little more because he's cutback dominant. I'm wrist away dominant. So that like appeals to your dominance more, or favors it. And then, so figure out the approach angle. Once you have that, then do you guys talk about the point of hesitation or like the beginning of your approach ever? Is there some word for that?
Yeah, we mean like point of preparation is a
point of preparation. Okay.
Just some sort of break between each.
So I think it's great to have a really defined point of preparation, like very noticeable. If you watch Taylor Crabb hit, he's like, you see him take this like timing step or point of preparation sort of step or right after that. And that step is huge for the option. So like every time at some like consistent cue, like something should happen. So I think when like the ball strikes your partner's platform for them to pass it, like you should do something physical to like initiate the process. So I'll just step with my right foot, and like I just make sure it like step like right when I'm open up, and then I time it so right when it hits him I'm also stepping, and then you get like the music of it going and the rhythm. And then after you take that timing step, or right after you get to that point of preparation, step 1, get to the point of preparation with the approach that like facilitates the approach angle. And then step 2 is take that timing step with probably your 5th to last step. And then 3 is like take a 4-step approach to the ball. But big thing is like make sure you got to save at least, really, you got to save 4 steps to get to the ball, because it could kind of go anywhere. So having 4 in the tank is really nice. A lot of people will take like that first step as the timing step, and then they have 3 after the ball like leaves the platform, and they can actually just sort of assess where it's gonna be. And then they only have 3 steps though, so it's got to be like a really good pass, and even then you're still kind of stressing it. So saving 4 and then learning how to sort of musicify all of it. So it becomes because people, they don't remember, like, you never memorize like a lecture, but that's why I want to do volleyball through stories a little bit, is because people remember stories. Like they won't remember this. Like what I'm saying right now, like if I put it in a story and I was like, oh, like Cutback Carl was in the land of Volleyland, and then suddenly his partner was struck by a ball-shaped rock from the moon, and then he had to decide what to do. And, I don't know, something like that would be anyway. But similarly with playing, like you want it to be like music. People remember music. That's way easier to remember the tunes of a lyric than like just a straight up transcript of the lyric. So finding the music of it, and then so that's like with those 5 steps, like figuring out a repeatable pattern. And I've thought about making like a theme song or something with those, because the steps are very rhythmic and like the same every time. So is volleyball in general, like all the steps and the contacts, it's all like a sort of song. I would wonder if I could like close my eyes and then like predict what's going on, like based on all the sounds. I'm sure anyone could do that.
That'd be cool.
But then finding the rhythm of that with the 4 steps, and then so you have that point of preparation, like taking wherever that is, like getting to that spot. Then you have your timing step is like the second thing, and then 4-step approach. Once you kind of know where the ball is going to go, you can maybe take that first step like blindly, but then the last 3, they have to like know where the ball is going to go. You can't like take that third to last step and then it's not where you thought it was going to be, and then you have 2 steps. Like you need at least 3, and then 4 is like good, is better. So a lot of times you'll see me take like a timing step and then like 4 quick steps, as opposed to 3 steps. You know, so with that 4 is super helpful, and I think that's helped expand Andy's range a lot. On I can pass it like I think he was more like using 3 steps, and he was still great at it, but 4 has really unlocked his window, I think. And then my passing's gotten a bit better too. There's a whole thing with the passing too. It's just difficult to pass for it, especially in a way that's like a repeatable cadence. Similar with the music thing, like they have to see your platform and kind of know where it's going to go before it hits you. You can't just like change the angle last second. You need to present it so they can see it, and then like line up where they think it's going to go, and hopefully like that's where it actually goes. So then in that way you can actually start cooking. Like Sweden, their like passing angles are just phenomenal. So they're probably the best passers of all time in all of beach volleyball. And like, I wonder what would happen if they played indoor, but they're just great passers. So their passing angles, like you could be fine with probably 2-step approach. Like it's so easy to read. So you don't have any, you don't need really any variability. The ball could go anywhere. It's just, it needs to be like, it shouldn't surprise you that it went there. Like you should be looking at their platform. And that's a big thing in indoor setting too. You're supposed to like, some coaches say like, watch the passer platform and then like predict where they're going to pass it. Like don't wait to just see it. And everyone does that unconsciously, you're forced to. Otherwise, if you have no visual input of like what's going on, you just see the ball like bounce up for a pass, like off of a silhouette, like you wouldn't be able to. Just the visual input's huge. So you're reading the platform too, and like trying to figure out where it's going to bounce, just like a set. And then I guess, so now you're approaching to the ball. You sort of jump just like you're going to hit it. And then that body contortion thing, like that first question, is huge. Like you have to learn how to, like the ball's anywhere within like a 2-foot circumference, like, or 2-foot diameter circle. Like you got to figure out how to like get that center of that circle to be like on your nose, or the ball to like land, sort of centrally, and then also have the power to like push it out and like not double or lift it. So all those things come into play, but you can combine them, and it really is. It's not like a impossible skill. It's very reasonable. Like people already do athletic feats, much, of similar complexity. So it's not. It's just like it takes reps. It takes a lot of courage. So, because it just sucks for a long time, unless you grew up playing like that, or there's a way to like force serves that are easy, because the passing is super hard too. Which is, I've heard people talk about like youth volleyball, like starting with 2-on-2 mini court, then 3-on-3, like slightly bigger court. Like it's crazy that they just play 2-on-2 big court like when you're 10. And even if you're an adult beginning, like you should not. There's such a waste of like, you don't like sprint before you can like crawl or even walk. Like it's just an interesting concept in general. Like a lot of life is like that. People just go right in. Like me, I want to do this content stuff. Like Better at Beach is like this giant. I'm not gonna just like create this giant website like right away. Like I gotta like start small, or else I'll just like suck. Which, I could do it, and it'll just be a horrible website.
Well, I mean, it looks like you're doing really well so far. So just keep that same track. But one thing I loved about what you said is it almost sounds like you're describing your timing step as a completely different entity of your actual approach. And I think that is something that I have had confusion with in the past. That first step and your fourth step is your timing step. So I want to experiment with that and see if I can separate that into its own entity, and then the approach can just kind of flow after that. So I am excited to experiment with that.
It's pretty easy. It'll take some time, but it's like, it's not that hard. It's like maybe there's some codes to it, like that you can crack, but like it's just like if anyone ever gets good at anything, they're like, oh, this is actually like pretty easy. Yeah. It's like even rocket scientists, I'm sure they're like, oh, this is like actually pretty easy.
Not that hard.
Like really, no, seriously, it's just all, it's 1+1 level brain things just happening like in a certain order.
Yeah, and I'm sure you would appreciate this too. Have you ever read Pilgrim's Progress?
Yeah.
The way you're describing this reminds me of
Have you read that book?
Love it. Yeah, one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
So I the way you're describing what you're trying to build.
That's literally the full inspiration, like the most close inspiration to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I think that is a brilliant idea. It's so. I remember like early in my faith, I was trying to figure out what it looks like, and that book was just such a monumental piece of my walk. That I
remember it. I don't remember it, like I was saying with memory. Like I remember it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant thing. Brilliant idea.
Like 5 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Selton, I think Selton had a question for you.
Yeah, I was trying to type it out, but I was like trying to. So the first step before the 4 steps that you mentioned, is it the same step repeated? So like right, or is it like a left?
Oh, great question.
Yeah,
the preparation, I guess before you get to the point of preparation, you have to do some things to get there. So you just have to move, or maybe it's in the same spot. So like whatever you're doing, like there's some way to do it, and you should do it the same way every time. So I think what I do, I'll open up, like I think I'll have my pivot, or like the fixed, the hinge is my right foot, and I'll like open up. So my left foot will move out of the way, and then I'll be facing Andy. But this is from the right side. And then I think I'll open up, kind of do this. Or I'm trying to think what I do.
Also, everyone, he's left-handed.
Yeah, that's important.
So it could be different.
Yeah. I think I just open up. Literally, I just open up and then just I'll open up to the inside of the court. This is for like the inside hand side, where your dominant hand is on the inside. So it's like a left side for the righties, right side for the lefties. But I'll open up, and then my timing step will just be, can I share my screen?
Yeah. There's a share button at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually have, there was a time when I was trying to make some videos. I actually have some options already like loaded up somewhere on my computer.
Nice.
Might as well just
throw them out there.
Pull one up. Yeah, for sure. It's way more efficient than
And one thing you mentioned earlier that I think is very valuable is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your starting point.
Multiple of them.
There you go. Your starting point is to set up your strongest attack.
Yes, for sure. That's just for third contact hitting, second contact hitting, serving. I mean, probably passing too. Like you're just trying to bias towards your strengths, so they, work on your weaknesses, but really just try to hide them or make them impossible. So this is Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so this is like an option. I guess this is an interesting one because I didn't actually move into the court. Usually I'll move in, but I took a split step like out, which I've tried to stop doing. Dustin Watton mentioned to me that that's like not a good thing to do. And then, but anyway, so I see the ball's going to Andy. Like I move my head at him. I'm watching his platform. I think I step out because I kind of see his platform like pointing there.
Mm.
But you can see with my right foot, which is like my outside foot by the sideline, like sort of picks up in place and then hits the ground again.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's kind of subtle, but it's like very important. So that's that timing step. Like I'm like, boom, right when it hits it, like you can see my knee kind of goes into the floor or into the ground,
So it's a very subtle timing step.
Extremely subtle. It can be, yeah, unless your point of preparation is like somewhere else, which usually it is. Usually I'll move to the middle, but Andy got served like in such a way where I think I saw it, and it does. It looks like his platform might kind of go like to my side of the middle, but then it doesn't. But I have 4 steps. No, it kind of did. That's a different. This is like the same principles here, like even with that quick play. But there's that first step, and then see I take left, right, or like
wow. Yeah.
Dominant, non-dominant, dominant, non-dominant. That way, like it doesn't matter if you're righty or lefty, but yeah. So it's that fifth to last step, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So to answer your question, it's right. It's alternating steps,
Gotcha.
like right. Yeah, it's alternating, but maybe there's a way where there might be 2 in a row to get to the. I can imagine 2 in a row. 2 in a row, you'd have to like jump off one foot. I don't feel myself do that.
Sure.
So that's another thing. And then Andy covers this, and then I still get back to a timing step, but it's my 4th to last step because I just didn't have time. And then I took 3 and then I hit it.
Yeah.
So that's like that one, I only had 3, but I was a short play. Like, yeah. I mean, there's more. There's like, I have some other ones if you want me to pull them up that are
I think this is
okay.
helpful.
Content.
And just as you're pulling that up, I know you're talking a lot about the passer's angle, and that's what's setting up your point of preparation. Do you consider where the serve goes as another factor to?
For sure. Yeah, like where that angle is like exists on the court for sure. Yeah. That's
so like if Andy is more served into a seam, like do you think it's more so a distance thing from Andy or like how would you describe that?
Okay, here's a more generic one. This is the one that I like just normally feel like I do. So I don't really go to the middle even for me, but if it was served on a sideline, I would. What were you saying again, Matt? You said about the.
I was just asking if like. Do you think of it more so as a distance from Andy?
Like maintaining like the same distance, like a string between us. Yeah. I think that's probably what I kind of do. So yeah, if he moves to the side, well, I didn't do that here. It depends. I think if he moves to the sideline in such a way where he's not like this, like he's diving, like he's not diving right now. So I think like if he was, I might move in more. But you can see, so even with that point of preparation, like I'm like just deriving this right now, but like my left foot moves, or no, my right foot comes in. I'm just trying to rotate, but the right foot comes in and then that left foot goes back and see how it plants?
Yeah.
That's like the 6th to last step. And then boom, like that's the timing step right there. The 5th to last step, hitting right there. But even before that, there's 1, 2 timing step. So that right foot moves and the left foot moves, then timing step. So, you're 3 steps in, I have 4 left. So it's like a 7-step process usually. That is what I usually do. And then it's like I see where the ball is going, and then this is my fourth to last step, and then last step, and then I hit it. So yeah, that's sort of one in the middle. But there's other ones, like if it's in the left, it's good that I don't have any yet. I actually have these little folders for different zones. I was thinking of using.
Is that ball time or is that a different app?
It's Volleymetrics screen recordings.
Nice.
But this is like another one. There's so many little, not really so many. There's literally like, there's only 7 steps you can take. Like that's not, you can learn that. And then there's like an optional 8th step in this example. And then that's it. It's just 7 or maybe 8. So this is one where it's like another one. Let's see if I can use my arrow. So, that one I move in because I kind of think it's Andy's. But then even then you can see I take that timing step with that right foot. It kind of goes up and then down, that outside foot. And then I'm off to the races, 1, 2, 3. But I know I can't get there in even 4 steps. So I do like 3, 4. And then I go goofy footed with that extra step. I call it the goofy extra. Because I went right left, which is non-dominant dominant, which is like a goofy footed approach, and then I hit that. But that's like an easier one. If it gets farther than you're expecting, like the passing angle changes last second, you can see like even now I'll like try and say it. So it's like point of preparation time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually it's 1, 2, 3, 4 jump hit, but this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hit. Man. So like in my head, like I'm sort of, it's much easier to think of it like music or like a beat,
What would be the beat?
So
like if you had, because I know
for that
1, 2, 3, 4, I like to be like 1, 2, 3, 4,
Exactly. Yeah. It's helpful to think there should be a song, like a volleyball song that has all the, like maybe it'd be derived from like an actual point.
How does it sound in your head? Like if you had to describe it right now,
4 steps is like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5 steps is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 3 are like pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if it's in transition, it's sometimes like 7 steps just to like, you have to kick out and then like come back in. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like da.
Yeah,
I guess.
Man, it sounds like the 5 step is such a cheat code to such a struggle for so many players, which is timing. And I think
it is. It helps with timing a lot.
Yeah,
you'd have to set it really high to be early with like a 5-step approach. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you think that, for example, on this play in particular, you end up going goofy footed?
Yeah.
So do you think, is it better for you, like in this situation, did you ever think about it like going the right way, like trying to set up your approach the right way, for example, just to have a right approach, or you knew that you'd rather get to the ball and then just have like a closing steps, no matter what it is?
Like, are you saying, do I prep everything before differently if I know it's going to be a goofy foot approach?
No, not goofy foot approach, but more like So, for example, I think that's a struggle for a lot of players, and I do think I see that in my personal game. It's like I'm trying so much to have the right approach that I don't even think that I could take a goofy approach at the end if it's me getting my feet to the ball.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, it's when your body like says, I can't get my feet to the ball, like you'd have to bump it over, that it'll like trigger the goofy step.
Mm-hmm.
It should like trigger it. So you won't know until your body tells you that. And then your response to it's like a question and answer type of thing. Your body's like, hey, why, like I can't get there. What do I do? And then you need to train the answer to be like, oh, like take this extra step. So I'll just do it. Like you could even just do it in your room, imagining it and like get the reps. But yeah, I guess if you're super focused on getting your feet to the ball, it aligns with that. Like it's still, the point is to get your feet to the ball. It's just like the only way to do it because it's so far away, because you try and like predict where the set's going to go and then like start your approach like 4 steps away from that or whatever amount of steps you are. So it's like one more step than you were thinking. But it's nice to have that in the bag. Chase Budinger does the goofy extra too. I think Sweden does it as well. Andy's done it a bit. Trevor Crabb does it, like if there's a really tight set. Like you have to do it. Even for like a third contact approach, it's a super useful skill. If you can be easy to set, like my number one complaint, which I plan to make skits making fun of it about, but my number one complaint in like all my entire volleyball experience is people complaining about the set. It drove me crazy. It's like so crazy. Which as a setter, I think some of it was some maturity like things too, but like, man, I got so mad as a setter, like when people were complaining about the set. And I was like, you don't even know about the goofy extra. Like no one's training bad sets on purpose. Like all of you guys should be doing that. Like I do that. Like I was just, they're like, oh, set me better. I was like, learn how to get a bigger like window and let me know what's better. Like, which is what it was hard for me to complain back because I'm also trying to take this ownership mindset too. So
sure.
Like it kind of insulates. It was hard. It was weird. I couldn't really like defend against it, but I've heard of setters who, when they complained, they just, if it was like a shoot set and they complained the tempo was bad, they would just set it to the wall. Like that's, I wish I had a little more of that in me. I didn't at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. And then people wouldn't complain anymore, you know? So it's kind of like punching a bully in the face. But these are my friends, like genuinely, like somewhat, like pretty nice, or really, nice people who would just, they would think it was helpful, and it drove me crazy.
But
so
do you
like,
think
I've set you 1,000 times already. I know where a good set is. Like, I'm telling you where to set it.
Sorry, I cut you, but I was thinking, do you think it's also a physical part of it? Like, obviously, the more physical you are, I think the easier it is for you to be able to adapt to different like bad sets, or do you think it affects your game? Imagine
the physical
you're
ability?
not jumping as much. Imagine you're not as high. Do you think it will affect the way you would hit to the ball, get your feet to the ball, for example?
Yeah. You probably want to start a little closer to the net. Like consciously just accept the opposites of your abilities, meaning like
and we'll never know.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's normal, right?
Yeah.
So I think you probably just make your like sort of range of perceived possibilities smaller, if like to account for your sort of relative weakness there. But no, there's these things you could do the goofy extra, you could do all the other 7 steps easily. So even if you were like 50 years old, like jumping like 7 inches or whatever, like I still think you could jump set too. You just maybe be like almost touching the ground by the time you set it, which is totally fine. So I could probably do it too. I could like probably force myself to be like, put a speed limit on myself and just test it, and then like jump 10 inches and see if I could still do it. Probably be a little different in some ways. Probably be really helpful for people in that camp.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I want to dive into, just a second ago you were talking about how the indoor side of things, when people would communicate with you, hey, I need this, I need that from your set, that kind of irked you. So I wanted to know it. I just fully knew it already. So I was like, yeah, I know it's a bad set. Like, I know that. Like, tell me something helpful, like about how to make it a good set.
Yeah.
Like, that's actionable, not like a results. It's like telling someone to like play better. Like you suck, play better. It's literally like almost exactly that.
Yeah.
Just like covertly hidden as like communication, or named that. A lot of communication is like that too, but
yeah. So take us into you guys just played a point. Take us into, I think you have like 10 seconds before the next serve, pretty much, or is it? On the world tour?
Like 8 seconds maybe. It's 8 seconds for the world tour. I think on AVP too.
Whistle.
So in between, during that time, take us into some communication that you and Andy have between you guys. Like, what is the way that he likes to be communicated to? What's the way you like to be communicated to? What does that dynamic look like for you guys?
I guess if we just in general, I guess it just depends. If we win the point, often like nothing. But we have like a lot of this stuff with me doing the volley knowledge and everything else. Like I'm just I've learned a lot more about stories and basically the importance of physical things showing spiritual meaning or whatever. So I guess that means we value like the sort of physical expression of togetherness after the point. So I've seen like European teams will often like basically just dab someone up after every point. Whereas Andy and I would just do the lame looking like high five. So we were like kind of like, I was like, oh, maybe we should do that. Like to me, I was like, oh, it's not directly affecting the point. It doesn't matter. It was a very materialistic like viewpoint on it, but we started doing that. So we'll maybe do that. We have like slightly different handshakes. Like I'll do this, like a double hand slap, and then like the dab and like semi hug. If he does a good play, and then if I do a good play, like my hands are on the bottom of the double hand slap. So that's like a win thing. And then maybe if there's something like we're serving the same guy over and over again, he keeps winning, and we're like, why are you doing that? Like serve the other guy kind of thing. We'll talk about that too. But again, there's so much going on. Like you're trying to process the last point, like, breathe and whatever. So like, I really prefer not communicating as much as possible because everything's communicated beforehand, so it's just like all automatic already. That's like way better for me. Only when it's, if it's helpful, then for sure communicate. But like a lot of the defense stuff, it's like, yeah, we already talked about that. Like we thought that might happen. Like we don't need to talk about it. So, and you only have 8 seconds. You can't really talk about anything like that meaningful unless you have like code words for things that encapsulate like a lot of meaning, which we do. So I don't know. We'll talk about some of the defensive schemes, like what to do better on the positioning for the lineup, for the blocker, the defender, and then maybe some attacking like options that we could use given like our strengths too. You don't just like tell someone to do a hit that they suck at, like one that you think might work against this team. So stuff like that we'll talk about briefly. But most of it's just like encouraging like supportive stuff, like, oh, nice play. Like sometimes I'll say like, oh, I'm keeping my serve and like go after it. Like I'm not going to miss really. So you can miss. I think that helps for whoever's the aggressive yin and yang type of thing. So yeah, I'll do some of that. Yeah.
And I think I watch you guys a lot this season, and I do feel like your communication towards each other on the court had a switch at one point. I think I felt at the beginning, or I forgot if it was like at the beginning of this year or last year, but I guess we're not cheering with each other as much, like the small.
It was the same thing. Yeah.
And now I feel like now it's so much more like you guys looks like you're enjoying playing with each other more. And I do know, like when you look at, for example, like Mo and Sorum, they don't really cheer up. They're pretty like stoic. They don't cheer when they're making a point. And I feel like at the beginning of you guys' partnership, it was kind of like that same vibe. Yeah. Now I feel like now you guys are a lot more cheerful, and I think you also are more successful now. Do you think
it's mutually enforcing it?
Yeah.
I just came from a materialistic mindset where I didn't think that like things that don't directly affect the game really mattered. Like meaning like any celebration or lack thereof was like less relevant. I always thought it was kind of relevant, but like not super relevant. Now I'm like, oh man, that's like very relevant. So yeah, it's basically just valuing the material more. So I'm kind of a math brain type of person. really just more like a value brain type. I just try to I want to see what's valuable and then know what it is. But in a materialistic background, you just see materialistic things that are having value. So since that's changed, I've gained much more appreciation for art and music. And every time I go into a room, I'm like, oh, why is this design bad or good? I'm like, oh, what is that? And then same thing with the celebrations. They all affect the game. Mm-hmm. There's this huge thing called momentum. Mm-hmm. That I've heard sports psychologists, they're like, oh, momentum's not real. It's not it's an illusion. I'm like, well, yeah, from a materialistic perspective, you're right. That's just not the full perspective. There's a spiritual dimension to everything that you contradict yourself while you're saying that because you're using spiritual principles. But so to me, yeah, it's given that sort of but anyway, before when we were looking maybe less fun, I was having less fun. I was I got burnt out for a while. I was a little depressed, or normally I don't like that word though. I'd call it melancholy or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I mean that was part of it. It wasn't just what we were doing on the court, but mm-hmm. But yeah, the celebrations definitely help. It's just you want to go all into something, use your whole body, mind, soul, every faculty you have, point it towards your objective. So yeah, with anything. So that's something I came to, and I realized that has value in all dimensions, the winning one, the fun one, mm-hmm. the being a good partner one, the God one, all of them. So it was a no-brainer to start doing that stuff in between points.
Yes.
To me.
That's awesome.
I think that's a good segue into what Jay's kind of talking about in the chat. But I also want to dive into what you mentioned. You felt you felt depressed and felt burnt out.
Yeah.
Now diving into kind of the mental side of things, he asked, can we ask about mental training and seeing the technique or strategy over and over again? And he said, he mentioned he's seen you focus on a cut shot form mentally over and over while warming up. And so
they've seen that themselves?
Yeah, they saw you doing that.
Oh, so they saw me doing that before a game?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my cut shot sucks. from most approach angles, so I'm trying to figure it out. That's probably why. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, so with the mental side of things, I believe a lot of guys in this chat have read Confident Mind. Travis gave me the book, and I was like, oh my gosh,
cool.
Game changer, right?
Yeah, I saw some summaries on it.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
With building that confidence and getting out of that burnout phase that you were feeling, and just that depression that you were feeling, and all those things. What were some things that you turned to? This is part one of the question. What were some things that you turned to in that moment to bring you back to enjoying the sport and just the beautiful sport of beach volleyball, and then also just getting motivated to just dive into it and just start this volley knowledge and everything like that? You went from I'm burnt out to let me add more to my plate with the sport. So how did that happen for you? Yeah, and then part two would be just thinking about that visionary side of things of I am trying to get this skill down, and so what are some things that you're processing? We've had a lot of conversations about interior cues, exterior cues, and whatnot in here, and so for you, as you were practicing that cut shot that you say you suck at, which I think we can all agree you're a lot better than.
I have a good sharp angle hit. It looks like a cut shot, but it's not like a loopy shot.
Yeah, sure. So practicing that mentally, what are you going through? What are you processing and whatnot? So let's start with part one of that. How did you have that big turnaround?
Yeah, I think the Bluetooth will work. Or no?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just getting the book. So the book that just totally changed my life. And there's other versions of the book, and there's other ways to arrive at it. But this book, called The Language of Creation, which I've plugged to all my friends, and no one of my direct friends have like latched onto it. So it's just interesting how it was like sort of written for me, maybe, and other people too, but it was like a timely read. So it was all that materialism versus, just talks about the materialistic view of the West, really, and how the Bible was written under a view that combined material and spiritual, like in a beautiful way together. So like that was the reason that sort of brought me out of the sadness, which like it's like a math book for ideas, so it's kind of esoteric, but it gave me the tools to make sense of what was going on in general. It even gives you tools to make sense of what's going on when you don't know what's going on. Like, it's not like it just tells you everything, but like it just contextualized a lot of what my emotions are feeling like and what I'm thinking. And it was just very right. It was like just accurate way of viewing the world. And it's just a language. It's like the language of creation. So it's this neutral thing. It's like English, it's not like English is particularly liberal or conservative or like religious or not, but it inherently, like, I think leads you towards some conclusions in those realms, but it's still just like English. So it's just another language. So that really helped bring me out of that period of melancholy or sadness or whatever, just to see the meaning of like what I'm a part of in general, and then in the volleyball world too. So that was really cool. I could rant forever, like I have many times with those friends, and probably not like recruit many people to actually read it, but like still, that was what it was for me. So since then, now I'm like, oh, what do I do with these tools? Like, this language is extremely powerful. Like, I want to do something with it. So volleyball is just like the first thought. So I'll see where that goes. It'd be really fun to just join the ranks of like a philosopher podcaster, though, like just in general for life, but starting like in an area of expertise that I've just found myself in. So yeah, that really brought me out of it. I mean, it helped me connect with God more, and just the world. So like my life has a lot more meaning now. And nothing material changed, really. Like, I still have the same schedule. I live in the same place, same, like, similar friends and stuff like that. So that's cool. The point of that book and the surrounding, so it's kind of like a cult. It's not a cult, but it's just like a very intense following for the people who like that type of thinking. Their mission is to re-enchant the world and bring it back to like a medieval worldview, which is like 1500s, or like 500 to 1500. So they saw the world in a really beautiful way. I'm going into the philosophy of it, but they talked about like the sun and being the center of the universe versus the earth, and that being like this big discovery when they figured out the earth wasn't the center. And these guys are saying, no, it still is, like, because the universe is centered on perception as opposed to the material location of things in the universe. So they don't disagree with the science. They just disagree with the centrality of importance. So they're talking about perception as the most important thing. And to us, we are the center. Like, we don't see ourselves moving. The ground is still. I don't feel myself hurtling through space at billions of miles an hour, and I don't feel the earth like rotating like at 100,000 miles an hour. Like, it seems still to me. And it seems like the sun rotates around me, not the other way around. Like, we still say it, the sun rises. Like, no, a materialist person who's actually super accurate should say the earth is lowering relative to the sun, and it's also spinning at the same time. Like, that's such a boring way to view life. So hence the depression, right? Because if you view your life that way, it's just boring. Yeah. And people don't. And it's funny when a materialist says the sun rises, and I'm like, oh, like you just contradicted like the point you're probably arguing with me like about in like 5 minutes after we finish small talk here. Right. Like, it's just hilarious to me. And the contradictions have just, the comedy of it is just, I'm laughing like every day at just like all the parodies that are like potentially there with it. It's just the world is so funny. So that's been cool. That's like helped a lot. Anyway, that helped. And then volleyball is like, how does this apply to volleyball? Like, definitely do the celebrations, like like just kind of view it. Like, they talk a lot about exile and homeland. Like, you're you feel like you're at home. And then when you move somewhere new, you're like, oh, this is new. Like, where am I? I'm lost. I'm in the wilderness. So anytime you learn a new volleyball skill or forget how to do something, you're like in a symbolic wilderness. And you're searching around, groping around, trying to find something to feel a sense of home again. And then that's when you feel like you're good at something, like is when so that's just been cool with volleyball. Just be like, oh, like I'm in the wilderness in all these different areas. I'm feeling at home in all these other areas. Like some areas I'm a nomad, some areas I'm a king, I guess. So like at the top of that anyway. So that's just kind of cool. Like I just view my playing as like this epic story of like different things where I play multiple roles all at the same time, and they're all unfolding like before my eyes, and I'm kind of watching, but I'm also in it. Like it's just sick. Like I'm just watching it happen. But I could see that happening with literally anything. Like I could like, build houses or work, I don't know, as a steel welder or something, like anything. So it's cool. Like I don't see myself losing. Like I don't. It's just gonna. It's re-enchanted my world. Like that's the point of that book and that following is to re-enchant the world. So the medieval worldview was full of goblins and dragons and monsters, and then the materialists are like, oh, none of that stuff exists anymore. Like it was all hocus pocus, religious people like speaking nonsense. Which from a materialist worldview, they're exactly right. So just changing the worldview and then seeing how it is when they were alive has been just awesome. So that's, there's monsters and goblins and dragons in volleyball too. So the story content is like, oh man, there's some, I don't know exactly. I'm trying to learn still, but like, there's definitely stories, children's books, fairy tales that could just be made within volleyball.
The more you talk, it just reminds me more and more. Yeah, it reminds me more and more of Pilgrim's Progress every single time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
oh, spot on, dude.
It's interesting.
Such a good book. But yeah, the language of creation. I'm excited to add that to my list. And then Anastasia, and then we want to respect your time, so we'll start wrapping up here in a bit. But as Anastasia wanted to know, do you pray before your games? If so, do you prefer to pray alone, with your teammate, or both?
Yeah, I usually do. I have like people have self-talk mantras, like all the sports psychs say to do that. So, which sports psych is like sort of a surrogate like pastor for the volleyball world. It's really like a very similar thing. So it's interesting how sports organizes itself as a religion too, with like sports psychs as the pastors, and sort of coaches kind of. Anyway, yeah, so I'll pray. So I'll pray. I usually frequently like I'll call my dad to pray. It's just a fun ritual, and it's cool. So yeah, I'll pray with him like real quick. It's really kind of to a materialist, a very nominal, trivial thing, but like I think it's cool to have that ritual, and it adds some meaning to it. Like anyway, I do that a lot, and then I won't pray with Andy. Andy's on. He's definitely like very interested in spiritual things and has his own viewpoints on stuff, which has been awesome to talk with him about. But we just come from different backgrounds and are at different places right now. So, but maybe, I don't know, hopefully, I guess.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's also good to like keep things professional too, in a professional setting and stuff. So, but yeah, I'll try and pray. But especially like thinking through like Bible verses during the game, just to sort of give myself perspective. Like that helps a lot with the mental stuff. So there's like a few Bible verses I'll just like put on loop in my head if I'm feeling like stressed out or something. I'll use some of the sports psych principles too, I've learned. But to me, a lot of it, like I like the Phil Dahlhauser, John Wooden, kind of Theo Brunner mindset on volleyball is just like, you're as good as you are, you'll play hard, and you have no control of winning or not. Like I like that viewpoint.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Crabb's more of like, I have control over winning, and he wins a lot. And I think it really helps him for that kind of person. I try to be like that. I'm not there yet. Maybe I will. Like Donald Trump also, like one of the Trevor Crabb type people, and he just won. So I mean, people win like that, and they're really good at it. And I've wanted to be like that. it's not in me. I maybe I'm just a different role in the cosmic story of the world. I'm more of the philosopher type as opposed to like the king. So maybe stay in my lane with that in sports, or I don't know, maybe I'll change. We'll see. But yeah, so the confidence piece, just like get good. Like competence is confidence. So if you're like good, if you know you're not good, like you can trick yourself a little bit. Like the confident mind is like that book is like trying to like get confident without necessarily just being good. Like it's trying to like really like visualize when you have been good, and then like try and make that count for more than the times you've been bad by like not thinking about it. But just get good. Like it's really just with anything, like cooking, you do it all. It's like driving, like you have to be focused. You can't be too focused. You have to be focused. It's like the same stuff. It's like, it's even right now, like this is another sort of performance and I have to be focused, but not like crazy focused or else it seems weird. And yeah, you won't want to listen to me anymore because it seems like force. So there's just stuff like that.
Dude, this is awesome. Yeah, and thinking about just the home and exile analogy that you mentioned, I feel like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that that thing that you do with your dad, where you just pray with him before matches and before tournaments, etc. I feel like that's something that can kind of bring you back to home.
Exactly.
And I think that's a really cool thing to add to your regimen leading up to matches and stuff. Just find a way to find something that recenters you with your home. I think that's a really cool thing, especially with how much you're traveling the world and whatnot. Really, really impressive idea.
Yeah, it's just in the book, so it's not mine. Actually, it wasn't a ton in the book. It was a little bit, and then it's more in the podcast sometimes, or the interviews with the author. So, yeah, you integrate the new things into your homeland. Until you do so, it's exile. So, yeah.
I have one more question before we wrap this up. Where do you get, besides from the books, I feel like the books kind of helps you get that creative mind, but is there any other like people, or do you have any mentors or?
Yeah, they have it's a very similar layout to Better at Beach. They have the website, they have the courses, and they have the forum. So I'm on their forum too. So I met some people through there, particularly this one guy who I just asked like one question. He just gives me like the entire internet of all the symbolic resources. I was asking him like, oh, like what color should I put on my website? Like they should probably be symbolically appropriate for what I'm trying to do. And then he's like, just gives me like an essay of like all the myths and stories and like mythology and resources on colors, like not from the materialist, like wavelength perspective, but more like the meaning and stuff like that. So that was cool. He gave me some thoughts on that. So that guy is cool. I have some other, I have this just in the most rare odds thing ever happened to me like 1 week ago. I can't get into it, but I just met some people who are into this stuff. Basically, I was in somewhere. I see someone. The next day, I'm an hour away from that place. I see that same random person again. They're a stranger. And then I'm like, why are you here? Like I just saw you yesterday, but it was an hour away. And then I'm like, she's like, oh, like I'm really into the language of creation. And then I was like, well, I've literally talked to all my friends. I've plugged it on the Sandcast podcast. Like, and then she had two other friends who are also into it. And I was like, like this is a sign. Is that I chat GBT the odds of that. It was like 1 in 400 quadrillion is the likelihood of that, which is like maybe slightly sketchy math on that, but it was pretty close. And like, I was like, dang, this is definitely some kind of a sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know yet. But those people too, like they're into that stuff too. It's kind of part of the Jordan Peterson crowd too, but it's a little bit of an offshoot of that.
I was gonna say, so most of the people that inspire you are not like volleyball related.
No, I definitely
not inspired. No, but more like
I really like John Wooden, and I like John Wooden a lot too. But the creative stuff, like for putting meaning into myself, like Wooden, as far as most for like any sports related figure, and then like besides that, just great leaders of of the time. Like I really admire the leadership and some quality of, so like Donald Trump, like he's just very efficient with how he does things. Like he doesn't take quick, like I listened to his book and it sounded just like it was just him, like he used a ghostwriter to just write all of it. And it was just like, he was just recounting his life. Like I bet that book took him like 3 hours to make. So I like how fast he does things. It sounds like he just takes a phone call, makes a decision about a giant problem, and then goes on to the next one. And that's how he can do so much. Whether it's the right or wrong decision, it's like he just does it, which I very like trying to figure out all the options and all the pros and cons of every little thing, and it just takes forever. So like he's on the opposite of that. Like so is someone like Trevor Crabb or Elon Musk a little bit. Elon Musk is like where I would like to kind of land because he has a similar temperament to me, but like also makes decisions quickly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean those people too have inspired me. Trevor Crabb has too. Like I really enjoy watching him play and just kind of listening to him from afar. I'm this like secret admirer of his like strengths. In some ways, he's kind of like he belongs to a different time, but he lives here now, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, so there's other people too, but
have you ever trained with John Mayer?
Yeah, John Mayer too. He was really cool to talk to. He helped me a lot with my float serve.
Discovering.
Yeah. Phil Dahlhauser too. Like I think I'm much more his temperament as opposed to Trevor. Or I don't know. Yeah, he's just like kind of chill. He's not manifesting everything and like getting caught up in all of that, but he still like does it a little bit, or at least visualizes success. But I feel like he's hit a good balance of performance abilities, because he's really good under pressure and so like just kind of getting to know him a little bit and just hearing Andy talk about him, and that's like pretty cool too to know that there's like precedent for that kind of mindset that I think I could fit into more with my strengths. So yeah, those people. So I mean, there's more. DJ is really cool. Irene, I love talking to DJ.
Well, he's kind of volleyball, so you can't talk.
He's in the Trevor Crabb a little bit camp too, but he's like very intellectual as well. It's really cool. So, but he also has the edge, which is cool. I don't have like a huge overt edge. Yeah. So, cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Miles, we'll respect your time and let you go, but just thank you, man.
Yeah.
We've I think I can speak for all of us. We admire your just being a student to not just volleyball, but just life in general. And you're just a trailblazer in a lot of ways, and just keep doing it, man. It's really impressive. You've got at least 10 new fans in here, and then if you don't mind, we'll probably end up posting this as a podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. Whatever you want.
Just thank you so much, man.
Whatever's cool.
It's been an absolute pleasure just getting to chat with you a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool. Nice to meet you, Matt.
Yeah.
Reading Anastasia.
Before we go, do you want to? Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah.
Any shout outs?
I mean, this is like, is this, you can't read this, right? I got to flip the camera.
Yeah, we can read it. Yeah.
Oh, so it's presented like right to left, the letters?
Yeah.
Okay. Because to me, it's inverted.
Gotcha.
I think the camera does that for me, but then it flips it to the output.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, the volley knowledge stuff, I'm trying to do that. Hopefully just teach the game, but I just want to do it in a way that people like remember what I'm saying. So I'm trying to figure out if that's like story or the skits, something like that. So volley knowledge, it's an Instagram. Nice. Yeah, the storytelling stuff. And then Miles Partain's Instagram too. And then I have websites for that too that are
your PB&J?
PB&J volley, Andy and I, peanut butter and jelly, Partain, Benish, and Jump Set. It's got a good theme song, theme songs already out there. So
love it.
Yeah, that stuff. Hoping to just engage more, So where the public square is, which is like unfortunately, but sort of it's fine, but it's like social media, so trying to like embrace that. And it can be used for good. So trying to find where it can. Yeah.
For great stuff. And we almost forgot the league. James,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
good luck this weekend, man. Go
Thank
win.
you. Yeah. Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Thank
Bye,
you
guys.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Marine, for connecting.
Bye.
All right.